Troma, here we go.
Sorry.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. It's just a hair after 3 o'clock, March the 5th. It's time for the Agriculture and Natural Resources Subcommittee to start. If you would, please log in so the clerk can take the roll. I may have the same fingers Mr. Johnny had last week. Take the roll.
Mr. Chairman, you have 6 members present. You have a
Quorum. Thank you. If you all would please stand while Chairman Todd leads us in the prayer and the pledge.
You bow with me, please. Lord, we come to you today, Lord, just humble, and we are very grateful, thankful that you have allowed us to be in this place to serve in this capacity. I just pray that you'd be with us today, Lord. Give us your wisdom, give us your discernment, and give us your patience. And I just pray for all the members of the committee and the audience that we would conduct business honorably and glorify you ultimately. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen. Attention, salute, pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Are there any personal orders this morning or this afternoon? Representative Jones, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I just want to take a moment to honor Tennessee farmers and workers. I've gotten some emails from them, and maybe you have too, who are being hurt by these cruel and misguided trade wars being levied by the Trump administration. I've heard from farmers in West Tennessee in particular, soybean farmers who are being impacted, and as one farmer said it, Mr. Allen Meadow, a 5th-generation farmer from West Tennessee, it's going to be a storm on both sides. One, there's more expensive costs, fertilizers being driven up to 25% for fertilizer from Canada, as well as they're going to be seeing less profits on the other end because of cuts to things like USAID. We have some farmers who were counting on those contracts for soybeans to go to underdeveloped nations, and now we're seeing cuts in that because of these cruel and misguided policies. And so I just want to ask this committee, I hope that we can get behind our farmers as they're facing these harms from these very extreme and unnecessary and petty trade wars by Trump. And I hope that if we don't, if this committee is not standing up for farmers, I don't know why we're here gathered today. And so I hope we can come together. A lot of you are from West Tennessee. These are your constituents who are emailing us saying that they are going to be hurt by this. And I hope we can come up with solutions because that's what we're for here as the Ag Subcommittee. So I thank you, Mr. Chairman, for the time.
Thank you. And just you mentioned Alan Meadows. Well, he's a personal friend of mine. He actually came last year and testified in this committee. He and I speak on a regular basis. We're not but about 10 miles apart. So we are very close and very good friends, and he understands what's going on politically. Representative Fritz, you are recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I just wanted to offer an apology to my Farm Bureau friends. I was much less Christ-like than I should have been today in a conversation. My apologies.
Shelby, Kevin, I wish I could recognize y'all as a rebuttal, but we can't do that today. Are there any other personal orders? Ms. Rebecca, or Representative Alexander, excuse me.
I just wanted to recognize Cooper Reeves. You can stay in Cooper. He is with the Chamber of Commerce in Johnson City, Tennessee, and he's shadowing me today, and I'm so glad, and I hope you all welcome him to Ag Committee.
And I hope the audience will be bear with us today because there's several members that have bills and other committees are going to have to be in and out. So y'all just hang with us, if you will. Tyler, do you have anything to give us today? You're recognized.
Good afternoon, everyone. I hope y'all had a great Mardi Gras yesterday. Happy first day of Lent. It's been a little busy, so I'm just going to rock with the same words of wisdom that I gave today in the criminal sub. These words are brought to you by Aristotle. Happiness is the meaning and purpose of life, the whole aim and end of human existence. Y'all have a great day. Laissez-vous bon temps relais.
And thank you for those words, whatever they were. Let's get right on. Representative Shaw was going to present for his district, but he had to be in another committee, so we're just going to roll that to next week. And first on our list today, we have House Bill 1060 by Chairman Howe. We have a motion and a second. You are properly before the committee. Do you have an amendment with this bill there, Chairman Howe? I don't think you do. We just want to make sure you do.
I don't think I do. No,
We don't have one either.
No.
You're recognized.
Thank you, Chairman and committee. It's good to be with you. You're probably wondering why this bill ended up in ag, as I am, but we're here. This bill was brought to me by the County Clerks Association. It does have to do with TWRA. Currently, a large number of our county clerks provide a service to their constituents to hunt and fish by selling the TWRA hunting and fishing licenses. Their fee of $1.50 no longer covers their overhead expenses of labor, time, computer, paper, ink. In recent years, TWRA has quit selling them directly to the public, and they've contracted with a third-party vendor. The third-party vendor makes $3.52 each time they sell a license. So the clerk would just like to be compensated to $3 in order to cover their expense, and that's what the bill does.
Trying to make sure that we don't miss committees. Are there? He got it there taken care of. Thank you so much. Are there any questions for the sponsor? Seeing none, guess your explanation was good enough then, Chairman Howe.
Thank you.
Seeing none, the vote will be open. And those in favor, vote yes, and those opposed, vote no. Take the vote.
Mr. Chairman, you have 7 ayes.
House Bill 1060 goes on to full.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman and committee.
The second item on the list is House Bill 1122 by Chairman Bricken. We have a motion and a second. You're properly before the committee. You have no amendment either, correct?
Pardon?
Is there an amendment?
I think there is.
What amendment number do you have?
3382.
That's what we have.
Okay. That
We
needs
have-
to be added to the
Is
bill.
does the amendment make the bill?
No, it just needs to be added.
You like to add the amendment to the bill?
Uh-huh.
Is there any objection to adding the amendment? We have a motion on the amendment. We have a second on the amendment. All those in favor of putting the amendment on the bill, say aye. Any opposed? The amendment has been put on the bill. And now you are recognized on the bill as amended.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman and committee. First of all, I never thought I'd be coming to a committee asking for approval of a crappy bill, but this is what I'm doing. This bill deals with biomass, and it's specific for one of my counties, Grundy County. It's a specific bill that would give their legislative body the authority to regulate or the acceptance of the spreading or not of biomass within Grundy County. So that is the bill. It's needed because Grundy County is basically being abused by the system, or the system is not protecting Grundy County. And I have several citizens that would like to speak. So whenever you're ready, Chairman, I would like for them to talk about this bill.
If you feel it's appropriate now, we'll go out of session and have those individuals come up. I have Mayor Michael Brandy and Ivan Michelle Russell. We are out of session without objection. If you would, just please state your name. You have 3 minutes each to make a brief remarks. You can sit down or stand up, whichever you prefer.
Stand up.
Well, you are recognized.
Mr. Chairman, committee members, thank you for allowing me to be here today. My name is Michael Brady. I am a 3-term mayor of Grundy County. My parents are farmers. It was my occupation for the first part of my life. Still, my neighbor cattle farms. I try to get a little bit of his chicken litter every year if I can con him out of that. But I wanted to talk about a serious issue that Grundy County faces. Grundy County currently is having a Class B biosolids from Chattanooga area. The Motscombe Bend plant being spread in Grundy County. Class B only has a little bit of lime added to it and the raw product. They only test for 9 metals. There's no testing of PFAS in this material. There's 2,900 PFAS, and they are known to cause cancer, and also they are forever chemicals. The regulations say that it needs to be spread within 100 feet of rivers, streams, water, and roadways. I gave the Representative Brickham a picture of it being spread on our roadways, much less next to our creeks within 4 feet of wells. It's over applicated. I've had reports of 8 tons being spread per acre. Also in northern Georgia, there are 13 chicken houses. They tested the sewer. They found out that there was bird flu in that, but the sludge that has been spread was not tested. Also, Channel 3 had a documentary that they did about testing for drug use in Hamilton County. The sewer system is where they got their data from. But again, the sludge that's been spread in Grundy County was not tested. There's no oversight for this. What I mean by that is farmers are supposed to wait a period of time before they use it, the crops again, especially below ground crops. That's not being regulated. There's nobody looking at that. Just make sure the time frames are met. Then there's no repercussions if you go out there. TDEC, I've called them numerous occasions. They go out there, they do investigate. They go out there, they find a misuse or something, they penalize them, but there's no repercussions. I don't know what the punishment is because I've never even got that answer, even if there was any. The Grundy County Commission passed Resolution 232-21C, asking the State General Assembly if they would just let us have the authority to just make sure that it's safe. We're not saying that they can't do it. We just want to make sure it's safe. We have invested heavily into tourism. Whenever you have churches that have been closed for 3 weeks because of the odor where it was set for a more long period of time than it's supposed to. Also, when you're at your county seat and folks can't even go outside, take a breath of fresh air for smelling this because, again, it was not let dry for the period of time that it was supposed to. We're just asking you to please let us regulate this, make sure it's safe and good for our citizens of Grundy County.
Nope. Oh, hey, I'm just local color. I have a morning TV show, so I'm very familiar.
If you don't mind, please state your name.
Oh, I'm so sorry. I'm Michelle Russell. I'm just high off of last night's speech. But anyway, I'm privy to a lot of the citizens' comments on this issue, and it's very divisive. We're all farming background. It's very near and dear to our hearts, and it has caused a great division because of we want to help the farmers, we want to help our brothers and our neighbors, but it is causing fish to die. It is causing issues among our community. So we just don't need that kind of division among our community, and it's tough.
We have any questions for Representative Alexander?
So I want to make sure that I understand this correctly. You're saying that they're coming from Chattanooga and dumping it on farmland that farmers are asking them to put it on? Or is that what you're telling me?
Yes,
you're
what it is, it's a sludge and they have to do something with it. And so it's a cost saving for them to offer this free as a fertilizer. We all know how much fertilizer is now. And so they spread it, but a lot of times, like one neighbor, his neighbor had spread this. It ventured down into his brother, which that caused him some trouble because it killed every fish in his pond. So it is a biosolid sludge that's coming from the Motscombe Bend plant, which has a lot of North Georgia customers, 300,000 customers. Also, if they would just put a quarter on the customer's bill, they would be able to test it for everything. But they refuse to test it because they know they'll fail.
Representative Alexander, you have a follow-up?
Well, I mean, I'm an old farm girl.
Yes.
And when we spread manure on our farm all the time, but that's totally different than
Yes.
this stuff. Am I correct in
You are
saying
correct.
that?
There is a
Okay.
distinctive difference.
And there
between-
is an odor with cow manure too.
Yes.
I remember bringing home college friends and they would say, what is that smell? And my dad would say it was smell of money. But that's a whole different
It is.
thing than this.
It is.
You're
It's
recognized,
totally
Mr.
different.
Mayor.
Yes, it is totally different. There's a distinct difference between cow, horse, chicken versus human, and because you're getting all the chemicals, also from these manufacturing facilities, you're getting all those chemicals, you're getting drug paraphernalia, all that stuff going into this system, and it's being spread, not tested.
Representative Fritz, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Good to see you again, Mayor.
How you doing,
And
Representative?
as I recall, you had one of the highest elevation county seats in the state.
Yes. it
And
is.
can you remind me what is the river that services your area? And the second question to that, then, Mr. Chairman, I'll be done, is there any risk of this, what's being spread in your county, flowing downstream into other people's counties as well?
Mayor Brady, you're recognized.
There's 2 rivers that actually run through Grundy County, the Elk River, which is on the Pelham side, but then you have the Collins River that's up on the northern side. Both of those have farmlands that is being used for cattle and other things. So I know in Pelham that they have spread this sludge in Pelham, and it very much so can make its way in the Elk River. And I've actually had citizens give me photographs of the truck being stuck right beside a creek that would feed the Elk River.
Representative Fritz, do you have a follow-up? Okay. Representative Jones, you're recognized.
Thank you. And thank you so much for being here, Mayor. This is something I'm so glad that you're bringing this to the committee's attention, because this is actually a statewide problem. We've seen other counties from Haywood, Lauderdale, Tipton, and Sullivan counties all suffering from this sludge, which many environmentalists say the long-term impacts of PFAS on farm fields, lakes, streams, and creeks is still unknown. And so I just want you to know that you have my district support, and I hope that, if there's any opportunity to come here and to see what this looks like firsthand, because this is a statewide problem. I'm glad that your member here is leading on this, but thank you for bringing this up, and we hope that this is addressed, because no one should have to live with this uncertainty and these dangers from these toxins that we still don't know the long-term impact of that.
Mayor Brady, you're recognized.
Thank you very much. I know you was talking about smell. That's what my uncle would always say. It smells like money. And like I said, my neighbor has chicken litter. I just try to see if I can barter some of that myself. So that's good stuff, and so, but this is just not good stuff.
Representative Jones, you have a follow-up? Okay. Thank you. Seeing any other questions? Representative Vital.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and thank you, Mayor, for being here. I'm kind of challenged by this question because I know the rising cost of fertilizer.
Yes.
At the same time, the sludge is a gift to dispose of and helps fertilize. It's a lot cheaper option. At the same time, I will tell you, chicken litter is perfume compared to this stuff when it's not baked properly.
Yeah.
But I do think we have a bigger question here that we need to deal with. From the day I was elected, it's been a challenge in Hamilton County. A lot of farmers don't use it anymore. It's gone to other counties, but it is legal, and that's what I had to tell the folks. So we do need to decide whose responsibility is to really regulate this, whether it really is the counties to individually deal with it, or the state should step up and look at a broad-based policy to address this. So with that, I would just say thank you for being here and helping us identify a bigger problem more than just Grundy County. Thank you.
Do we have any other questions for the witness?
Can I answer that?
Go ahead, Mayor. You're recognized.
I do appreciate, and I fully understand your concern with this, but this is a place where the metal meets the meat. We're having to deal with this after we are a distressed county. We are making our way out. We have invested in tourism. We are making our way. And I always ask this question whenever it's my constituents, when they ask me questions, they have problems. I feel like, what would I do if it was in my backyard? So I just asked you, Representative, if this was in your backyard, how would you feel about it?
You're recognized there. Representative Vital.
And it's in my backyard too. I want to deal with it statewide. Thanks.
Thank you so much for being here. Seeing no other questions for our guest. Thank you all for making the trip up. We also have,
Thank you.
yeah, we also have on our list that would like to speak on this Kevin Hensley, but Kevin Hensley with the Tennessee Farm Bureau. And we also have Miss Allie Williams from TDEC to answer some questions. So if you would, Allie, would you please come up? There's going to be a couple of questions for you, I do believe.
I'll go ahead. While this light's on, I'll just go ahead and
That's fine.
give testimony. And
If you would, Kevin,
Yes, sir.
3 minutes.
Yes, sir. Kevin Hensley, Director of Public Policy at Tennessee Farm Bureau. We've talked about this issue in previous years. Chairman, members of the committee, thank y'all for letting me testify. I want to thank Representative Bricken for lots of great conversations about this topic. We really feel that if adopted, that this legislation is potentially unconstitutional. There's several provisions in state law that say that the state is the entity that regulates these types of things. And then we would be having county governments being separate from what state law already says. And then also, from a big picture perspective, spreading biosolids is an agricultural practice. And furthermore, the state law already says that local governments don't have the ability to regulate agricultural practices. So there's a couple of different places that we just have statewide concerns on this. And then just we've already talked about fertilizer being expensive. That was already mentioned today. Farmers use this. There's a lot of things on the farm that don't smell good, and we understand that. But this is a normal thing, happens all across the state, not just in Grundy County and Southeast Tennessee. Our biosolids, they're domestic, and we can get them. You can get them reliably, and half of our nitrogen that we get in the U.S. and 80% of our potash fertilizer is imported from somewhere else. So this is an issue when we talk about trade and all those kind of things. This is a big issue when it comes to fertilizer. It's important to note, TDEC and EPA heavily regulate biosolids. They're the experts at it, but there's already an effective amount of regulation. There's testing that's required, and farmers in Grundy County and across the state use biosolids as a safe and cost-effective fertilizer, especially with the expensive fertilizer prices that we're just seeing. They sway. The prices sway heavily. Another issue is if biosolids are not land applied, they're destined for a landfill. And this committee knows better than anybody that we have a huge landfill problem in the state, and this would just continue to exacerbate that problem. We too share concerns about PFAS, and that is something that is a topic that we have to learn more about. It's a topic that we don't have a clear answer to today. The EPA is reviewing. TDEC has a study committee that is reviewing that, and we encourage TDEC and all regulators to make sure we're using the best science when it comes to PFAS. The issues that we've heard today sound a lot like regulatory problems, and that we need a statewide approach to fix this, potentially a regional approach in Southeast Tennessee. And we just have a lot of concerns around a county by county approach on this topic. Thank you, Chairman.
Thank you. Now, TDEC is here to answer questions, not to give a statement or testimony, but here just to answer questions. Chairman Todd, your personal list.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. And I guess this is probably more for TDEC because there's been mention today of fish kills. And I wanted to ask you guys, at least in Grundy County, are you familiar with fish kills within waters of the state related to the spreading of biosolids?
If you would, just state your name.
Yes, sir. Thank you. I'm John Newberry with TDEC.
There's yours. Oh, no, shut up.
There it is.
Thank you. Thank you. Sorry. Thank you. I'm John Newberry with TDEC. And, sir, I don't want to tell you something incorrect. I do remember maybe a couple of years ago, I think there was some kind of fish kill maybe in a pond. And I'll have to go back and look and see where that was. I don't want to tell you something incorrect.
But if it was a farm pond, it would not have been waters of the state, most likely. Is that correct?
Is that right, Stephanie? Oh, Stephanie's my attorney, so so yes, sir.
Okay. The other question I had was related to violations. Are y'all aware of violations that have been alleged, and if so, what are those involved, and what's involved in those, and what action has been taken?
Sure, there have been notice of violation letters sent over the last few years to the city of Chattanooga. They take biosolids to, I believe, 9 different counties in the state. And so there have been some NOVs. I'm not exactly sure how many over the last few years, but maybe 3 or 4 notice of violation letters. And those letters normally just we notify them of a problem that we found normally during a complaint investigation, and then we give them a certain amount of time to fix the problem. And they have for the most part. We could, we could do a better job, I'm sure, on some of our oversight, and we commit to do that moving forward. We're already looking to try to do maybe more inspections of various sites. It's just kind of difficult because there are so many across the state, but we recognize that we do need to probably do inspections more often than we do.
Chairman Todd, one more follow-up?
Yes, and that would be the type of violations. What kind of things? Because I've speaking to the sponsor before, I've heard allegations of spillage on the road, which I know is completely unacceptable. That's putting that product in a position where it can get into waters of the state. And so can you describe the type of violations maybe that y'all have seen?
You're
Yes, sir.
recognized.
Yes, sir. I do think there has been at least one notice of violation letter for biosolids being spilled on a roadway. And I don't remember when that was. I'm sorry, but I think we have sent out one letter in the past for that, and Chattanooga cleaned that up. Yes, sir.
Representative Stinnett?
Thank you, Chairman. So you've sent a letter. Is there any monetary penalties, or what do we do to make sure that they're doing their part here?
You're recognized.
Yes, sir. That's a good question. We can do what's called an order with financial penalties, and we haven't done that yet. Not saying that we shouldn't, and that's something that could still happen in the future, but we haven't done that yet with Chattanooga.
Representative Stinnett?
Well, it appears to me that we may need to do that, because speaking with the bill maker is, from my understanding, is something that's happening pretty regularly. Spillers on the road anyway. So thank you, Chairman.
You'd like to answer anything or make another statement there from TDEC? Representative Jones, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. To the people of Grundy County, you erupted and asked me to support this, but I want you to know that I do support this. And what we heard from the Farm Bureau is something I hear often on this committee. Don't let local government decide. We need a state solution. Then if it's a state solution, we need a federal solution. We always treat these poor counties like they should not have an equal say. And Grundy County is one of our poorest counties. All the counties I listed, Haywood, Lauderdale, that are dealing with this toxic sludge are some of our poorest counties. And to me, it's like we're seeing them as dumps, and it's wrong. The issue I have with this is everyone here is talking about just the smell. It's just a smell, but what we're hearing from scientists, what we're hearing from environmentalists, is also the toxicity. We don't know what this will do to people's health. It's not just a bad smell, but it's the long-term implications of these high levels of toxic substance. So PFAS are a class of long-lived and toxic compounds which pollute food and drinking water. We know that they're highly toxic to both people and wildlife. In Texas right now, they're dealing with this issue. And in Texas, you had ranchers trying to sue because in Texas, here's the article, several ranchers blame the chemicals for the deaths of cattle, horses, and catfish on their properties after sewage sludge was used as fertilizer on neighboring farmland. Levels of one PFAS chemical in surface water exceeded 1,300 parts per million, they say in a lawsuit filed this year against Sinagro, the company that supplied the fertilizer. While not directly comparable, the EPA's drinking water standard for 2 PFAS chemicals is 4 parts per trillion. And so this is about toxic waste, poison being put into this community. And so I believe that if we believe in local government, as some of my conservative friends do, let this county decide what they want for their county. We should not keep coming up with moving the goalposts and let the state decide. And then when we bring a state bill, they're going to come before and say, let the federal government decide. Let this county decide how they're going to deal with it, because it's their children who are going to be impacted by this. Their people going to be impacted by this, by the long-term health implications. So I support this. I hope you will. Let these local governments decide, because again, every day I'm on this committee, when we have a bill like this, we're told to keep pushing it down the road. And let's not do that to these people. That's all I ask this committee.
Representative Jones, you have a question for the witnesses?
To the Farm Bureau, have you taken any initiative to lead on a statewide level? You say this should be done at the state level. Have you all, because it doesn't seem like this is about supporting small farmers. This seems like it's supporting these corporations that are supplying these chemicals. This is not about helping our farmers. This is about supporting the corporations. And so has Farm Bureau taken any stand in trying to advocate for a statewide solution to this? Or are you just saying that now that we're being told by the local government to do something?
Yeah,
Mr. Hensley, you're recognized.
Thank you, Chairman. And thank you, Representative Jones, for the question. So a couple things. We do hear from farmers that use this product. It's an affordable fertilizer for them. I mean, in many instances, it's a free product to them that they have access to get fertilizer. So we do hear from farmers that use this. And then from a second component of that is, yes, we have had conversations with the city of Chattanooga specifically, saying that, this is something that this issue is a broader regional issue that we said that we would like to address, about this issue is bigger than just the Hamilton County area, Chattanooga area. It's impacting other areas, and that we don't have these issues in other parts of the state, even though we have biosolids being spread all across the state. And so there's some things that we could potentially do to try to help them upgrade their facilities or something like that. And we would fully support whatever initiative that would be, because the oftentimes the issue for this is not so much the spreading, which does have a smell, but it's the process before it even gets to the farm. And that's where we probably need to address this at that local level.
Representative Jones, you have one follow-up?
Thank you. So I'm hearing like we would like to maybe, is there anything specific that you think that this committee could take? If you're advocating not to support this bill, what is something we can do so that we don't have to wait another year for this county to have this issue resolved? If there's something in the immediate that you would see as a solution, that would be the more regional solution, even though this is a statewide problem. Is there something that you all have proposed, or is there an amendment that you would be amendable to, that we can address this and not have to wait another year?
I think
Mr. Hensley, you recognize.
Yes, sir. Thank you, Chairman. It sounds like there are some regulatory issues that need to be addressed. I mean, if it's being spread on the road or being spread in creeks or streams, that's a regulatory issue. And if TDEC doesn't have the resources to enforce the regulations, then that's something that this committee could help advocate to increase their ability to answer these calls.
Thank you.
Seeing no other questions, I've got a couple. Ms. Williams, if you would, this is not a problem that just happens in this one county. This is not a practice that's just in this one county. This is something that's practiced all across the state. Is that correct?
I believe so. I'm looking to our folks for a nod of yes or no.
Yes, sir.
Yes.
It is. There are 69 different permittees. Oh, am I off?
Yeah,
Sorry.
you're good.
Thank
You're
you.
good.
Thank you. There are 69 different permittees, cities or utility districts that are permitted to land apply biosolids in the state.
Are all of those regulated by the state?
Yes, sir.
Are any of those regulated autonomously by their county? So this is all of these standalone, and the state regulates them, correct?
And EPA, Stephanie had a good point. Our biosolids rules, we're not a delegated state for biosolids. So EPA is, I guess, the ultimate regulatory authority for biosolids, but we have a state set of rules and a state general permit that mirrors the federal rules. So one thing that permittees have to do is send an annual report to us every year in February. So they send an annual report to TDEC and they send an annual report to EPA since we're not a delegated state.
Okay. Are there any other questions? Mr. Representative Stinnett, you're recognized once again.
Chairman, has EPA been involved?
You're recognized.
No, sir, not really. I mean, they're available if I have some kind of technical question. Sometimes I reach out to them to ask something about the rule and that kind of thing. But otherwise, since I've been involved with the biosolids program, no, sir.
Representative Stinnett.
Do you think we could get them involved?
You're recognized. Mr. Newberry.
If that's something that everyone wants to do, I could try however I could. Sure. Yes, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you, Chairman.
I think it's fair to say, though, that there's been a breakdown in the way the regulatory process is supposed to work here, to put it mildly. Chairman Todd, you have a question? You're recognized.
Yes, just to clarify something you said, so the state does not have delegated authority in this realm?
You're recognized.
Right. Yes, sir. We're not a delegated state for biosolids, but we have our own state program. We have our own state permitting program and state rules, and they just pretty much mirror the EPA federal rule.
Okay. So the regulations are there. It's just we've got our own, and EPA could step in just like in a lot of other things. Okay.
Yes, sir.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
But would you agree that TDEC probably needs to do a little bit better job of how they're responding to certainly this situation here in Representative Bricken's district?
Yes, sir. I mean, I could do better myself. One thing we are trying to do right now, we're reworking our general permit, and we are trying to add PFAS sampling requirements to that, a yearly PFAS sampling requirement. That hasn't happened yet, but we're working toward that. So that maybe is one area that could help.
Well, Chairman Bricken has reached out several times and worked us over a few times about this issue. And we definitely want to support him, but at the same time, the state has a policy that they operate under. And if we start piecemealing it, we may put ourselves in a bad spot. But the mayor back there, I mean, he needs to have a good open line of communication between his office and TDEC. If there is an issue, that they know that they can get to you guys and there'll be a response immediately and not weeks or months. He needs something to be on top of it. So any other questions? Seeing none from our witnesses, thank you all so much for being here. We'll go back into session. Without objection, we are back into session. We are back on the bill. Chairman Bricken. Yes, sir. You are recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Certainly appreciate the testimony I've heard today, and I think y'all did too. This is a serious, serious problem that has, I think, very long-term implications to our state. I'm almost surprised that it has gotten not as much attention as it deserves. The issue with Grundy County, and certainly I plan, and I'm sure we will have some serious conversations with TDEC over the next few weeks on this topic. The calling TDEC after there's an event or a problem is, you know, the cow's already out of the barn. They do need more resources. And whether it's from this committee or from their leadership, to be certain that what comes out of those plants and the types of equipment that's delivering that product is acceptable. I mean, I understand from pictures, some of these trucks is like a leaking sieve that just, and Grundy County's uphill, so you know where the weight of that, everything's going at the back of that truck. And it's just not a good look, and it's not a good thing. I certainly would hope, and I would like this bill to stay alive at the wishes of this committee, so we can bring it back before we're out of session and either see if we have some resolve about this issue or not. So,
Chairman Bricken, I believe we've got TDEC on record, though, of saying they're going to work. And I believe we've put a microscope on your county now, that TDEC will have to be a little more engaged. And if they're not, I believe everyone up here is willing to have your back and your mayor's back and your community's back to say, TDEC, you've got to do a better job with your regulatory responsibilities. Representative Jones, you're recognized.
I know it's unusual, but I would like to hear the mayor's thoughts on this. I believe if to just respond, just because he came before, I would like to hear the mayor's response just to see if it's adequate. Again, I believe in local control. I hope you do as well. And I'm just curious to see the mayor's thoughts on what the testimony we just heard and the conversation of moving forward. If the chair would be amenable to it, I would hope we could hear from the local community impacted.
Representative Vital, you're recognized.
Mr. Chairman, I just want to say on behalf of the General Assembly, we care about TDEC. We care about Grundy County. And I think TDEC has invested a lot of money in Grundy County with new state parks and new investments and acquisitions of land for tourism. So I think they have a vested interest in protecting the future of Grundy County, just like the county mayor and his folks do. And we want to protect these other counties too. And so we really have to look at this globally. And TDEC, we need to help you enforce this because it is a challenge, but it's a statewide issue, really.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
What is your parliamentary inquiry?
I was asking an official question when I was asking, is that within the rules to call a witness back? So it was a parliamentary inquiry when I was asking if the mayor could come back up. Is that allowed under our rules? If he feels comfortable.
If someone makes a motion, I believe we can do that.
I would like to hear, I hope I'm not putting you uncomfortable, but I think I would like to hear what the local government response to this kind of kicking it down the road solution
Representative
is.
Ricken, would your mayor like to make one more?
Thank you.
So without objection, we'll go out of session. You will be recognized once again.
Sorry.
This is not a normal procedure, though, just so you know.
Oh, I appreciate it. I promise you. It's just, I love my community. I love my state. That's the reason why I do what I do.
Well, we love Rush, so we're letting you do some
Yeah,
things.
so you're gonna let me do something. I have contacted TDEC numerous times. Actually, in a public hearing or the 5-year permitting, me and my other mayors, myself and other mayors testified in front of that to re-permit Denali with the same concerns, still to no avail. The only thing I'm saying is if the EPA, we will go by that, but we will make sure that what's in Grundy County is up to those standards. I'm not saying stop it. I have mayors in other counties, Manchester and everything, that have sludge, but they go by all the rules and they spread it, and it's efficient and it's safe. But what we are getting from Denali is not safe. It's toxic poison. The only thing I am saying is we're not going to ban it. We're just saying let us have the authority to make sure that it is safe for the citizens of Grundy County. And also to the comment that I heard about that there was testing, I'm going to go out on a limb here and say, show me the test, because last I heard there was none for the sludge. There was none. I asked for it. They did at one time do 4 random tests in a year. Random. So if you're testing it, whenever you're going to a clean residential area and it brings back good results, you're going to test it during that time. But if you're testing it whenever you're getting industry sludge, if you're getting other things in it, you're not going to test during that time. Every single load needs to be tested. And we will make sure that if you will allow us.
Thank you, Mayor, for being here and giving you that second chance at the plate.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
You're so welcome. All right, without objection, we'll go back into session. Representative Bricken, do you have anything that you would like to add?
No, again, the wishes of the committee, I would again like to keep the bill alive.
Absolutely. Representative Todd, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I certainly, we all have concerns about what's been done in the past and how things are going to move forward in the future. I think we have the regulatory system set up to make this work properly so that our farmers have the resources they need and that they desire for improving their property and improving their crops. But we certainly know that we have a department that is charged and paid to do the right regulatory job to make sure this is all in compliance. And so I think today we've certainly established that. And I think that will take care of the vast majority of the problems once that oversight is administered properly, and penalties if necessary. I think that's something they're going to have to definitely consider. And considering your desire to keep this alive, I would move this to the March 26 calendar.
Without objection, move to the March 26 calendar. Next on the agenda, we
Thank
have
y'all.
House Bill 175. This bill has been rolled 1 week for Chairman Darby. So without objection, rolled 1 week. Number 4 on the list is House Bill 328. We have a motion and a second. Chairman Slater, you are recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. This bill came to me from a constituent, where the best bills always come from. I was meeting with a constituent, and she asked me if I knew that state employees received a discount at state parks. I did not know that. Then she told me that state employees do. Then she asked if I knew that veterans do not receive the same discount at state parks as state employees. And I said I didn't know that either. So I looked into it. What this bill will do will create a discount for veterans, honorably discharged veterans. It will give them the same discount at state parks as state employees enjoy at this time. With that brief explanation, I stand ready for questions.
Representative Fritz, you're recognized.
Question on the bill.
Question's been called on the bill. Seeing no objections, we'll be voting on sending House Bill 328 to full committee. All those in favor, vote aye when the clerk opens the board. Any opposed? Vote no. Mr. Clerk, take the vote.
Mr. Chairman, you have 8 ayes.
Congratulations. On the full committee.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. And did your office get the message?
We
roll one
have,
week?
you are on
Thank
number 5 on this calendar, but we are going to roll you 1 week.
Thank
So
you.
without objection, you're rolled 1 week. That's House Bill 918, item number 5, rolled 1 week. Number 6 on the list is House Bill 199. Representative Reeves, you have a motion and a second. You are properly before the committee. Do you have an amendment with you?
I do not, sir.
Let's roll. You're
Okay.
recognized.
Thank you very much. Well, I appreciate it, Mr. Chair and committee. This bill basically allows the commissioner of the Tennessee Department of Environment and Conservation to issue variances for subsurface sewage disposal systems in counties. Well, they already have the ability to do that in counties that have not entered into a contract with the department. And so this bill expands the commissioner's ability to grant variances on these systems in contract counties. We have 9 currently in the state. And the bill also allows the commissioner to record the variance with the county to alleviate any confusion in the future for the property granted that variance. I'm open to any questions.
Do we have any questions? Representative Reeves? Seeing none, looking twice. Seeing none, we'll be voting on sending House Bill 199 to full committee. All those in favor vote aye when the board opens. All those opposed vote no. Mr. Clerk?
Mr. Chairman, you have 6 ayes, 2 nays.
Congratulations, you're on the full committee.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
That was House Bill 199. House Bill 747 by Chairman Fritz. We have a motion. And a second, you are properly before the committee. Representative Fritz, you're recognized. You have an amendment, I do believe, correct?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I do. It's Amendment 4659er.
Does that make the bill?
It rewrites the bill, sir.
So would you like to put that amendment on the bill?
Yes, sir, Mr. Chairman.
Hold on just a second. We have 3971.
Tell you what, Mr. Chairman, I'll make a motion that we roll this bill for a week because I had some concerns with some of the costs for the fiscal note anyways. Not that they're inappropriate, but just to make sure in the size of our ever-growing budget. So with your permission, I'd like to roll this 1 week.
Without objection, we'll roll this bill 1 week. That's House Bill 747 rolled 1 week. Next on the list is House Bill 1112 by Representative Fritz. We have a motion and we have a second. You're properly before the committee and recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman and committee. Last year, the General Assembly passed legislation that amended the Tennessee Air Quality Act to include a prohibition against, and I quote, the intentional injection, release, or dispersion by any means of chemicals, chemical compounds, substances, or apparatus within the borders of the state into the atmosphere with express purpose of affecting temperature, weather, or intensity of the sunlight, which created Title 68, 201, 122. So the legislation that I bring before you today basically does 4 things. It's the next step in this process, if you will, Mr. Chairman and committee. It authorizes the Attorney General and local district attorneys to investigate reports of violations of the section that have been deemed credible by the state agencies. And that's from a previous law, one I think was 2058-2-116A. And which currently reads that state agencies, and I'll quote this, this is important, and don't mean to be too verbose, but it's important to tie it all in. I'll speak as fast as I can, Mr. Chairman. State agencies, including but not limited to those charged with responsibilities in connection with floodplain management, stream encroachment and flow regulation, weather modification, fire prevention and control, air quality, public works, land use, and the land use planning and construction standards. And the reason I mention that specifically, committee and chair, is to make sure that you understand the tie-in with this piece of legislation I offer. What I offer today specifically addresses the weather modification portion of this and not many of those other things as far as the civil and criminal penalty that you will see and I'll talk about in just a moment. And that's important to communicate so that we don't think that I'm broadening this for all those different areas. Number two, it authorizes the AG and the local district attorneys to initiate investigations following emergencies described in 58-116. And when you read through that, that's current code that allows the governor and his agencies to conduct studies regarding those things that I just read, like floodplains, et cetera. Thirdly, it makes violations of 68, 201, 122, and that's what we passed last year, that very precise set of words that TDEC helped me to write. A Class A misdemeanor that would apply to persons or entities carrying out the intentional injection of those chemicals, chemical compounds, or apparatus into the atmosphere for purposes of affecting temperature, weather, or the intensity of sunlight. Again, very specific on the weather modification of geoengineering. Or those persons or entities who supplied the chemicals, knowingly supplied the chemicals or chemical compounds for those practices. And fourthly, it gives the Tennessee Department of Environment and Conservation the ability to assess fines for any violation specific to that weather modification in 68-201-112 up to $100,000 rather than what is currently $10,000. And with that, I'll pause and take any questions that you have, Mr. Chairman and committee.
Thank you, Representative Fritz. Representative Shaw, you're recognized.
Mr. Chairman, what is the purpose for your legislation? What are you, I mean, you're not hitting the whole spot, but you're just sitting. Can you kind of talk about that for a moment?
Representative Fritz.
Absolutely. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you for the question, Representative Shaw. We do have geoengineering that takes place in the United States today. We have several examples of that can readily be assessed. We have put federal funding into weather modification efforts. We actually have historical accounts of weather modification that we as a country have participated in, where we increase rainfall or snowfall. And if you'll recall, last year we had a nice young gentleman come and testify before this committee regarding his cloud seeding operations out in the West. I think each of you all got a letter. I got a letter from that same company, I think, an operations manager there, talking about the need to continue the cloud seeding. If you'll recall from last year's testimony, this nice young gentleman wanted to continue the cloud seeding and open his markets into Tennessee. We currently, to my knowledge, had not been doing any cloud seeding in Tennessee. But he says, and I'll read from his letter, Representative Shaw. He says that while my work focuses on supporting state water resources through precipitation enhancement, I'm wary of stratospheric aerosol injection and solar radiation management, two of the things that my legislation attempts to preclude or prohibit in the state of Tennessee and assign penalties for. Often referred to as solar geoengineering, because releases of substances like sulfur dioxide or aluminum oxide into the upper atmosphere where they can be dispersed across vast areas carries potentially far-reaching environmental and health risks. And I just couldn't think of a better way to answer your question than what this gentleman wrote. So that's what we're trying to prohibit in Tennessee.
Okay. Thank you for your explanation. Thank you.
Representative Vidal.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you, sponsor, for bringing this. This is a big issue of concern. There's still a lot of science that we need to better understand related to this, and I know we've talked about this. My only concern in supporting this bill is if we're going to have some enforcement, that we provide some more money to an agency at some point to help them do that. We just talked about the challenges that TDEC is facing with sludge statewide, and we all reinforced our commitment to help them. Where do you see the enforcement of this going eventually, and will there be money following it at some point to help a state agency better understand this issue and protect our citizens?
Representative Fritz, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you for that great question. I know we've discussed this much. We have several states that are following Tennessee in what we did last year. I think Florida is one of the most recent, just introduced a bill very similar to what we passed last year. And we'd considered for this year legislation that would have indeed had a fiscal note. This legislation does not, to help us establish some standards on what the air quality is. That's a difficult thing to assess, and working with my great TDEC partners, the atmosphere that's over the state of Tennessee right now is going to change in 10 minutes. And it's going to be patterned routinely, but it's going to change. And that's going to be a costly thing to do that if it's all about air quality. So, Representative, one of the reasons I took the approach I did on tracking down the supply chain of the chemicals, it enables the district attorneys and the AG, whom I've spoken to about the supply chain for the chemicals, to be able to conduct an investigation if it's merited, as the bill said, and if it's based on perhaps some of those studies that the governor's office might already be doing under Title 58-2-116. So I think there is going to be room, unfortunately, and apologies for the lengthy answer. I think this is going to be something that we have to continue to look at into the years to come, Representative Vital. And I do suspect that there will be some fiscal notes in the future. My attempt this year was to put something enforceable, put some teeth into last year's law, and not incur further costs on the citizens of Tennessee.
Representative Vital, you are recognized.
Thank you for that explanation, and I supported you last year, and I'll support you today. Thank you.
Representative Fritz, last year you brought a document from the White House that the White House produced. What is the status of their efforts since there's a new administration in town? Is that still the way it was, or are they going a different direction? You recognize?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Some of those documents that we brought before the committee I sent to you all last year are still available. That one is not. That one was taken down from the White House website. We still do have the House Energy and Water Bill from 2024. It's accessible. I can send it to you. And there was $39 million allocated in that appropriations bill for this type work. So we continue to spend money. We had Department of Energy and National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration. We're expending money on these matters. I do expect that that's going to slow down some. And I really think some of you all's leadership in supporting me on this has helped Tennessee to lead the way on this. Other states are talking about it. And I think we have made it something that I'm much less the tinfoil hat, perhaps, than I was this year. So I think that's helping, Mr. Chairman.
One other question, if you don't mind. Some of the conversations I've had over the past couple of weeks about this, and believe it or not, there's people in my district. I probably got more organic emails about this issue than any other issue that we've dealt with this year. And I mean the school choice issue for my district. This means more to the people back in my district than that one. This will not have any negative implications to the agriculture community, crop dusters, or anything of that nature, will it? You recognize?
Mr. Chairman, that's a negative. It will not. And that was what I was attempting to cover early on in touching to the weather modification. Last year, TDEC were super, the professionals in TDEC, in helping us write this so that we didn't unnecessarily incur risk onto legitimate agriculture or industry or commerce in the state. It was written specifically to address the geoengineering. So I think we've got it tightly written.
Nor do we want to use this legislation as a way to maybe harass crop dusters in their normal agriculture, process.
Yeah. Mr. Chairman, you're exactly right. And again, I would give much credit to our TDEC folks in helping us write this last year so that would not be an option to give flack to folks who are in legitimate industry.
Thank you for that. Thank you for TDEC for working with you. Any Representative Alexander, you're recognized.
The same for fire prevention.
You're recognized, Representative Fritz.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Yes, ma'am, it is. And it specifically goes to the weather modification. If you look at the bill, it takes it to just those words that we put in in Title 68 last year, ties it into the Title 58 so that we have a connected loop of the studies, but then points directly back to just the geoengineering and the weather modification. There are several categories in that old Title 58 code, the emergency management code, and it mentions all those categories I talked through. We're focusing on just the weather modification part of that.
Representative Alexander, you recognized.
Thank you, sponsor.
Okay. Seeing no other questions, we'll be voting on sending House Bill 1112 to full committee. All those in favor, vote aye when the board opens. All those opposed, vote no. Mr. Clerk, take the vote.
Mr. Chairman, you have 8 ayes, 1 nay.
Thank you, Mr. Clerk. On to full committee it goes. That's House Bill 1112, to full committee. Number 9 on the list, House Bill 896. We have a motion. Chairman Todd, we have a motion and a second. You are properly before the committee, Chairman Todd, and recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. House Bill 896 just sets forth some guidelines for our regulatory agencies and their rulemaking process that states that they would, after July 1st of this year, this would go into effect, that their decisions about those rules and regulations have to be based on sound science. And I know we have folks here to testify about this bill, pro and con probably. I do intend to roll this because we've got an amendment we're working on that we've worked with TDEC and Department of Health on that will, I think, alleviate concerns. But I do want to hear from guests that have traveled to be here today.
If there's anyone out there that would like to testify today and they've driven a great distance and could not be back next week, you're welcome to stand. It's on our list. Seeing none, they're going to wait until next week, Chairman Todd.
Okay.
All right. So without objection, we'll roll the bill 1 week. House Bill 896 is rolled 1 week. Last on our list is item number 10, House Bill 897 by Chairman Todd.
Motion.
We have a motion and we have a second. You're probably before the committee. Do you have an amendment with this bill?
This bill is being amended, and this is in the same posture. I don't have the final draft yet, and when we get that, we will bring that back hopefully next week. So, and I think there may be folks on the list. I'm not sure about testifying.
Miss Alicia Azampour? Harvey? Guess she's not here. All right. That was the last thing we had on our list. So without objection, I'll entertain a motion
We roll 1 week.
we'll have, without objection, I'll
Roll it 1 week.
close the committee. Okay. Close the committee.
Motion adjourned.
Motion to adjourn? We are adjourned.
You never announce.